What is up, everybody? As here tonight, the wind chimes are acting up again, but it should be okay. That being said, let's go ahead and hurry up with tonight's trick. I remember I said last Friday that we were going to a progression of a trick, but unfortunately, that's not going to be able to work tonight due to the wind. So we will continue that the next time I feel like putting on that trick. Um, that being said, without further ado, tonight is a bit of a circus magic night. I'm gonna be going over like a bit of a lesson. If you forgive me for a moment, I'm gonna go ahead and put up that wind chime just for the video. That way it doesn't interfere with the audio. Um, while they do make a beautiful sound, the video needs to be heard a little bit. So, without further ado, let me teach this to you. So, this is a bit of magic, a bit of circus arts, if you will. So, I will move the camera back here, so you get a wider shot. Here we go. Perfect. Now, get a shot of the whole thing. Okay, perfect. You get a shot of the whole porch. Let me go ahead and I apologize for the technical difficulties tonight. Okay, perfect. And so, the first one, balancing. Okay, very simple. I'm going to start out very simple. Two basic principalities. Lighter the object, the easier it is. The taller the object, the easier it is. So a lot of times, person will start out with something like this. A simple, go ahead and get it out here. Either a wiffle ball or a baseball or softball bat. I any of these will work, but this is generally what people start out with first. Sometimes pins, juggling pins. They look like baseball, like a mix between a baseball bat and a bowling pin. That's why they're called pins. But basically, you want a base when you're doing any kind of balancing. Your goal is to keep this under this. Okay, and for that to make sense, if you want your center of balance under your force of gravity, so gravity is trying to pull this down in every which direction. Okay, it's trying to pull it down. Okay, and so what you want to do, and your brain will automatically do this. You do have to think about it a little, but there's a reason when you see people balancing objects, their eyes focus on this point because the brain is like, okay, that's starting to fall in the other direction, and it sends signals down to the hand saying, okay, that's the way it needs to go, and that's the way the hand needs to adjust for it to work. Now, this becomes harder when you balance heavier objects or shorter objects. So, like a pencil, it's gonna have a lot more effect when gravity starts pulling on it. It's also going to have a smaller point of balance, and so that's the other thing you want is a wider point of balance. And so you see how much harder it gets when I move down to just a finger of balancing an object. Okay. All right. And so now another tip: don't do this with the sun in your eyes. Because one, your eyes are going to have to keep blinking, and you cannot lose focus on this for it to be balancing. There are some more experienced balancers who will do this with their eyes closed and whatnot. But that is because once you have practiced with this enough, with this skill, you can do different things like this. I will go ahead and back up here so you can see what's happening. That it's not a mistake that the bat will be swaying, but rather that my brain can tell my hand to start swaying because I'm thinking it, and it will start doing it. And let me go ahead here. I'm going to switch back to my normal tool for this. I normally use this wiffle ball bat. It's a plastic lightweight, but you can see here what's happening. I am going all over the place with the bat, making it look inexperienced, but it's not actually inexperience because my brain is of staying focused on that point. Okay, and if my brain is telling my hand to move every which way, it's going to tell itself to correct itself. Okay, so it's a bit of a tricky business. Um, that is more advanced, obviously, because I can't even fully get it down. Next on the docket is, let me go ahead and fix my back. I do have to plug in my. All right, and so if you give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so once again, I do apologize for the technical difficulties. As tonight, apparently my phone decided not to charge earlier. Anyways, we are without ring light right now until my phone charges a little bit as we are doing the video. But next up on the docket, the show must go on. So next up on the docket is the umbrella. So we've gone over bats and simpler objects and the basic principles of balancing. Um, this is a more common trick is to take something like so and with a shepherd's crook or whatever, something with a hook and balance your finger on balance the hook on your finger. I almost said that backwards. And so this is a more common approach is to take one finger or something like this and just balance the hook on the finger. Not too impressive, really. And if you're trying to wow over your crowd, this isn't going to work. So this is when you take this to higher grounds and start doing it on one finger once again, because what you're trying to do, okay, so I failed to mention this on the baseball bats, at baseball and wiffle ball bats. I'm going to point the camera down just a little bit. Watch how I put my finger on the umbrella rather than on or compared to on the baseball bats, okay? So on the umbrella, I'm just going to use one finger. I'm matching up with the base of gravity or base of balance that I have. On the bats, I'm going to use, well, of course, once again, lighter the object. So like on the wiffle ball bat, I can still use one finger. It's just not going to be as effective, but it's going to be more effective than with the heavier bat, like a baseball bat or softball bat. So on the wiffle ball bat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use multiple fingers, if not the palm of my hand, because once again, it is a lighter object, so it is more susceptible to wind. Um, but of course, if I'm doing this like this, you'll see if it does start to blow over, I can do a quick correct with my fingers on the palm. Okay. And so that's just a little extra tip. Wider the base of balance, or wider the center of balance, the wider the base you're going to need. That being said, moving on to another prop, tennis racket. This is more utilized for other things other than just balancing, like so. But this is one of the props that can be used more specifically for balancing one prop on top of another. So what most balancers will do is they will take the racket like this. Now, of course, it is windy out, so I'm not going to attempt this. They will take the racket and place it on end. Now, of course, notice I am taking 3 fingers instead of 1, placing it on the middle for center of balance and balancing it. Now, of course, in this particular situation, I'm focusing on forward and backward motion, although if I wanted to turn it sideways, I can focus more on the right to left motion. Either way, I still have to focus in all directions, but it's more rigid than all around like the bats or the umbrella. With this though, this is for a more secure position on balancing a tennis ball or some other ball on top of the handle. As I mentioned, the when I wouldn't be doing this right now only because of the wind, but when I do perform this, I make sure I still have control, but make it look chaotic, make it look harder than it is. That's really all types of performing. Make it look and seem harder than it is, but also make it seem easy, if you will. Because like, oh, that's easy, and then they realize how hard it actually is, and then it kind of plays hand in hand. So you want to do a bit of both. You practice it so much that you make it look easy, but you also, if you're doing performances like this, you want to make it look a little difficult. So maybe they don't even try it, because I know this sounds a little backwards, but in performances like magic or circus arts, we don't really want them to see how easy it can be because it is such a secretive art form. Like kind of like the first rule of magic: don't expose the secrets. Now, of course, there are modern day things of people exposing secrets online and all that, and the whole debate of, oh, should you or should you not? I don't agree with exposing, and just exposing the effect, just to expose it. But I do agree with teaching the effect, which my good friend Doug Kong does. He does teach the effects rather than just expose them. And plus, most of the higher up effects, and he's not the only teacher that does this, but he's just one of them, and actually my teacher. But when they teach things online, it's like for the beginner stuff, is not behind a paid wall. But for those who are actually avid and want to do it as a hobby or as a lifelong thing, as a career, I was trying to search for the word. It is there is a little bit of a paywall, but if anything, think about it this way: when you're thinking about other careers, how do people get into them? They pay for them. And so it's the same as pretty much any other career, except it pays less. By the way, tip in bio. But now we get into the more heavier and bigger objects. So, such as tables, chairs, ladders, literally like 18-foot A-frame ladders. I've seen people balance on their hands, their faces, their feet, things like that. Real quick though, I do want to get into the realm of magic props just for a moment, such as this appearing cane. Let me go ahead and close it up real quick. And everybody knows the appearing cane. This is one of those things that has been exposed, not really taught. And so this is one of those downside things, but everybody knows it now, or almost everybody knows it now, and so it's really like, okay, well, why don't you just do it? But so the thing with an appearing cane or whatever is something like this. So like magic prop, it's both lightweight, it's magical because a cane appears out of thin air. So and now it's magical too, and now you have a prop that you can balance with. So if you're trying to start out your magic show or whatever, you can do something like this. You can start it out, make the cane appear, boom, there's your first effect. And now you're doing a little bit of circus arts by balancing it. Of course, now there are different effects with balancing too, just as there are with magic. I'm going to adjust the camera here for a moment. Let's go ahead here. Go ahead and adjust the camera because I don't know if there will be enough room, but there should be. If not, I will do this later on. But oh, there's just barely enough room. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking for a moment because there are other effects, like I said, such as not only balancing them on the hand, like so, not only balancing them on the hand, but balancing things on the face, such as the chin or the forehead. Now, as you notice, I have my hat on for when I'm doing effects such as these, because if the sun does happen to be out, I can still pull my hat down so it blocks the sun, yet see the top of my object or whatever. Okay? Now, how are we going to do this with bigger objects, you may ask? So, how are we going to see the top of the object? Now, that's a very good question. If you give me a moment, I will explain. Give me 1 second. There we go. So, with a bigger object, especially if we're balancing it on our face, how are we going to see the top of the object? That just doesn't seem possible. Now, I will pull it down just a little bit as the other objects are not as tall as the cane, but they're still kind of tall when they're on top of my face. You'll see here. Let's go ahead and make sure this is in frame. All right. So like I said, I have to stop talking because I need a stable base. And my body moves with the object this time rather than just one object, as such as my hand. My hand moves with the object the first time because that's the only part that needs to move. Of course, my hand and arm. But now I have to move my whole body because my hand is not opposable. So let's go ahead here. We're going to do this for a couple seconds. All right, hold on. Let's see. Okay. Now, as you can tell, I cannot do that one for very long because, one, I am a bit inexperienced in the face department, but also it is a lighter object. And of course, with the wind blowing, this is going to be a bit of a problem. So, this is where lighter objects come into play that you don't want to use them. And so, about a medium-weighted object for the face is suffice because you don't want, like I said, I've seen people balance 18-foot A-frame ladders on their face before. So that's a bit of a heavier object if you've ever picked one up. Now, the reason you want to do this, though, is because with a medium-weighted object, it's not going to be falling everywhere because of the wind. And it's not, that's because it's not light. It's not super heavy that it's going to crush you either. Okay? Now, I'm trying to remember. Oh, that was my point. When something is balancing on your face, you will need to remove things like a hat or whatnot, or just like lift it up just a little. So once again, don't do this when you're going to be staring into the sun or up into a bright sunny sky, because you need to be able to see your the top of your object. Now, when you're trying to see the top of your object, but you're looking up at it, and so you can't see necessarily straight up this, you do this little technique where you close one eye. So right here, this is my center of balance. And because there are two sides to this object, I can see on either side of it. Now, what happens when I grab a heavier object, like a stool, or a bigger object? Let's put it that way, like a stool or a chair. Well, this is what happens. Rather than looking for a specific, or looking at the top of the object, I apologize, I almost used the wrong term there. Rather than looking at the whole top of the object, that's not going to work. I'm going to need you to look at a specific point. So I either make a mark or I find a mark, which luckily this already had one. Let's go ahead here. In between those two big stickers, you guys probably cannot see it, but right, like kind of like right below that yellow box there, a little bit to this side of it, is a dot where a screw once was, but there's a hole there now. And so what I can do with this is I can use that as my my center point. Now, of course, with an object like this, it's obviously not going to be sitting like a normal thing because it has to bounce. And of course, if it's sitting like normal, only bouncing on one point, it's going to fall away from you multiple times. So you have to balance it in the opposite direction more than times than not, with a bigger object holding it above your face. All right, so you have to look up at it. And so doing things like this is going to help. Let's see here. Oi! I apologize. I'm getting out of camera frame with that, and the wind is picking up. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful to all of you who are wanting to journey into the art of balancing objects, various objects, household items, and whatnot. But that is going to be it for tonight. I hope to expand on this lesson later on. But because of the wind, not wanting to be cooperative, this is going to have to be the last of it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do the final death-defying stunt. Looking for my point of center up there, lining it up with my base, my base of gravity, or my center point of gravity, and my base of balance. Lining those two up, essentially, is the final point that I want to make. And let's go ahead here. 3, 2. Oi. All right. See, that's the other part, is you got to be focused, make sure, and you will drop things sometimes. You will. It's part of the art, is dropping things with this. And so, yeah, just practice. And so without further ado, we're going to do it one more time. Let's see. All right, and there we go. So I hope you guys did enjoy that. I know it was a little bit longer than most of my normal videos because of all the technical difficulties and just the kind of nature of the video. But hopefully that was enjoyable, educational, and once again, I hope to expand on the nature of this video later on, or on this lesson. But that is going to be it for tonight. Hopefully next time also it will be daylight and it's going to be off the porch. So that way you guys can see the full potential of this art form. That's all for now, though. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you guys found this educational, helpful. Thank you for watching. Peace, and have a blessed night.